Hello everyone, my name is Michael Zappa. I am currently an intern with the Pittsburgh Film Office, and I am here for a very special guest. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and explain what it is that you do in the film industry here in Pittsburgh?
Yes, my name is Steve Tolin, and I'm the owner-operator of Tolin FX. We are a custom design and fabrication studio that specializes in entertainment and education. And in regards to how we serve Pittsburgh, is primarily in the motion picture and theater industries. We provide, basically monsters and fake dead people for movies.
So Steve, can you tell us a little bit more about your special effects studio and maybe share some notable projects that you and your coworkers have been a part of?
Sure. So Tolin FX has been around for about 25 years, and we've worked on everything from independent stuff through all the Hollywood blockbuster movies that come through town. Typically the bigger the show is, the smaller of a role that we play in it, and the smaller the film, the larger the role. So we're either coordinating the entire effects department and making all the monsters and all the props and all the costumes, or we are just providing a specialized prop that a film might need that came into town. And then I also run a company called ICYMI FX, which creates non-explosive gunshot wounds that create the illusion of a gunshot wound on an actor, again for film or for live theater.
Steve, can you maybe explain to us some basic techniques that you and your coworkers use in order to bring your extraordinary creations to life?
Yeah, most of the stuff that we build is built with very similar series of techniques. So it starts with a conversation, and typically we'll go either into design work because they don't know exactly what that thing looks like that they're talking about, or they'll present us with designs because they know exactly what it needs to look like. And from that point we decide, okay, so based on what this thing is and how they're going to use it in the movie, how are we going to go about building that? And a lot of those techniques have sort of been established for decades. Typically there's some kind of master form, and so we'll take whatever that master shape is, and typically we'll reproduce it either by just making duplicates of it out of some unique material, or we will mold it and create like a negative representation of what that thing is, a copy of it in negative space, so that we can then duplicate new positive reproductions of it. And that's just a molding casting kind of a process. And that is boils down to pretty much 90% of what we do. And then ultimately, at that point, you're either just handing it off and saying, okay, have fun, with the prop that we made for you, or you go on set and now you need to operate it for them. If it is not just something that you created, but something that you created that needs to do something, typically we're going to be the best people to do whatever that something is. And obviously all of those different processes take a team of people, from sculptors to mold makers and casters, and a group of people called finishers. And those are going to be the people who do the paint jobs on it to make a piece of rubber look like it's made out of wood. And then you have people who can do stitching and help build costumes, because sometimes a monster is not just a rubber head, it's a rubber head, and then their whole body is covered in feathers. And there's hair work and eye work and teeth work. And depending on what the project is, will determine what kind of team of artists I put together for that particular project.
So Steve, do you mind sharing with us maybe some notable inspirations from when you were growing up that really kind of guided you on this path to become a special effects artist in the filmmaking industry?
So as far as early experiences go and how I ended up in special effects, I was not going to be a special effects artist at all. I was going to be a biologist. Almost until the time I graduated high school, I discovered about myself that I'm equally right and left brain. I'm very analytical and book nerd oriented, but I'm also very creative. When I was a sophomore, I went to the West Virginia Governor's School for the Arts, and there they taught us, who knew, that you could make a living as an artist. So once I kind of cracked that nut and I looked at the kind of art that I enjoyed as a kid, it was primarily motion pictures. The movie FX was a big inspiration to me. That movie is an illustration of how illusion can be used sort of in a real world scenario, but also for motion pictures. And creature comedies are my favorite genre. Harry Henderson's and Gremlins and Critters, movies that have monsters in it that sort of show this wily side of human nature, and so it's easier for you to understand the character when it's not a human being, it's a monster. Artists that inspired me as a kid that I didn't realize as a kid, because I didn't know, honestly, half of the time I thought this stuff was real. It didn't occur to me that I was watching a movie. Stan Winston, he created some of the best special effects that have ever been on screen, even today. Jurassic Park, Predator, Terminator, his resume is really impressive. Rick Baker obviously did Harry and has done a ton of really cool monster makeups. But then even people who are outside of motion pictures and outside of entertainment, really, you know, like Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers and Da Vinci. Like, it's not just modern filmmakers that are inspiring to me. It's really anybody who sees the world through kind of a unique lens and can express that creatively.